Hello, welcome everyone. Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment, of course. Happy to have you here. Happy to be spending some time today sharing a little bit about these new levels that we are being invited to expand into. All right, so our whole ascension / awakening journey is really creating new octaves for us to rise into, expand into, deepen into. They're all simultaneously one and the same with slight variations of experience, subtle differences in the overall experience. So what I want to talk about today has to do with coherence and the importance of coherence in order to access more of our higher dimensional experience and self. Now, if you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. Thanks for everyone who has, and give a like as well. I love that. Helps tremendously. And let's begin. So when we're talking about coherence, I'm curious if you have a sense of when in your day-to-day life, right, or when have you had an experience, an embodied experience of feeling really present and at peace, simultaneously grounded and expanded. Now, if you are a meditator, you probably are going to be familiar with this. If you are somebody who does yoga regularly, particularly if you do more of a yin yoga that actually draws you inward and softens all of your edges, you're probably going to start to know what I'm talking about. There are these windows that we access when we are deeply relaxed and in a space of ease and grace. If you don't have a spiritual practice, maybe when you go out in nature, that supports that, like everything is truly okay. Everything feels right and aligned. When you get done with a massage, right? A really good massage, and you're just dropped in and you're relaxed and you feel open, you feel, like loving, you feel you're not in a hurry, somebody cuts you off and you're like, no big deal. I have no place that I'm rushing to get. So this is the difference between the contraction of most of the pressures of our day-to-day life that they bring to our mind and our emotions and our body, and the expansion when we've unplugged from those, so to speak. Coherence is dynamic, right? It's not static. It fluctuates, and it has levels of bandwidths of higher frequencies. We talk about divine neutrality a lot and divine love. These are high heart activated experiences. And the more that we can stay attuned to that more open, spacious place of not being attached, to preferences, likes, dislikes, challenges, struggles. It doesn't mean that we don't have these things, but it means that we're holding on to them really loosely. We recognize them, we observe them, we acknowledge them, yet we don't embrace them as who we are or how things have to be. When we're first learning how to come into divine neutrality, which then sort of subtly morphs into an ongoing state of coherence, right? Kind of like homeostasis. Everything breathes and moves to keep us in a deeper harmony and balance. But as it does this, we remain in a more expanded and more, let's just say a more feel-good space. Now, that can be relative, because the more that we expand and the higher up our octaves that we experience living from, there isn't really a feel good or feel bad, because there's less and less of the polarities. So the easiest way I found for myself to sort of put an emotion to it, or a state of being, is calm and peace, ease and grace. And then that just becomes a norm. What gets in the way of this? What gets in the way of the soul's very real desire and guidance to uplift us into these higher bandwidths of frequency, operating with the higher centers activated and yet grounding and being in the body, so that you are really connecting with your soul presence, your divinity, more and more, which is your soul. Your divinity is expressions of your soul. Now we've got other expressions of our soul, right? That sort of guide us and lead us, that might seem like, they lead us into purifications, right? We get led by soul into purification. It doesn't always feel good, but that's not the soul. That's what's purifying. That's what's moving out. That's what we're clearing. That's what we're letting go of. Or that's what we're feeling assailed by, right? Is not, does not keep us connected to the soul's presence. Our thoughts, and you guys know this, right? Our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors that we live on a regular basis from our egoic structure that has not yet been purified, alchemized into our soul experience. So one of the things, two of the things, these are the main things that I want to talk about today. I want to keep it really simple. Before I say the two things, the first thing I want to say, the prequel, is we are being guided and supported and invited into understanding ourselves, to knowing ourselves as less of a personality and more of spirit, or more of soul. Less of the density of our personhood and all of our history and our past and our stories, all of that. It serves a purpose as teaching tools, so to speak, right? As to, oh, my experience is valid. It's important. It is the path that I've lived that has supported me in learning the lessons that I've learned. But that is not needed anymore for me to live from those storylines. Instead, we're being called to live from the truth. The truth. And the truth is what we know when we are in that presence of soul. When we're expanded, when we're relaxed, when our heart is open. That's what the truth is. And then we know, like, wow, I'm pretty amazing. Not from ego, but just as, of course I am. I'm this living being, right? I'm living on this planet. I'm interconnected with all of life. That's amazing. That's beautiful. We all are that. But then we forget it. Because then we get wrapped up in the stories and the things that make us think that, no, I'm hurt, I'm wounded, I'm angry, I'm ashamed, I'm guilty, all of those things. Rather than, wow, I'm really amazing. Wow, look at the myriad of experiences of life. In my own life, look at the myriad of experiences in other people's lives. Wow, how amazing that we are characters in our own movies, and our movies are deeply, deeply needed and necessary and important to us. Because that's why we came here. For our first part of why we're here. Okay? So, what is it that we need to be practicing now in order to activate and to remain and learning how to sustain the higher frequencies of divine neutrality, divine love, and coherence? The truth. We need to become really aware of what our minds are running in the background. What are those stories? What are those ways in which we view ourselves, that we know ourselves, those limited storylines? It's amazing when you really start to get quiet, when you really begin, not even just meditation, when you just start practicing sitting, closing your eyes and listening inside. We literally have, this is the only way I can explain it. We have layers and layers and layers and layers of thoughts that are always going. One layer might sort of peel away, and then there's another one in the background, chattering away, right? Speaking to us about our past, our future, what we're worried about, what we're concerned about, right? And then we might relax, right? And just let it go. And then we find out underneath that, there's a whole other layer. Oh my God, somebody did this, and this really made me mad, or somebody said that, and that really hurt my feelings. It's like, whoa, okay, where did you come from? Another layer. And then there are the quieter layers that can be like, I wonder who that is talking so loudly at me. Who is that voice? Well, whose tone is that? That's sharp and edgy. That's talking to me or talking about other people, right? So we start to at some point begin to be aware and really tuned in to, whoa, there's a lot of commotion in here. There's a circus. There's many circuses going on in here. I love that meme, not my monkey, not my circus. But unfortunately, that monkey mind is our circus. So it is our circus. But we can remove ourselves from the circus. What would happen if you actually allowed yourself, if you haven't yet, to get really still and quiet and at peace and feel open and serene in your body for an extended period of time? Who would you be? You wouldn't be the monkey mind. You'd begin to know you're somebody else. Who would you be if you're a consumer of a lot of information, if you're an avid TV watcher, always have to have music or some kind of stimulation going on in the background? I can't go to sleep at night without music, without some sort of something. I can't go to sleep at night unless my TV is going on in the background. We never know the truth, then, of who we are. And it becomes harder to recognize the layers of non-truth and deeper truth. And I'm talking about capital T is that soul truth, and lowercase t is small truth. Small truth, it has its own merit. But if we allow it to have its merit only in the moment and then let it go, and then realize that it's a flash in the pan, it only stays like a solid, feels like a big truth, because we go over and over and over and over and over. We talk about it, we think about it, and then we act out in it. So what we're learning to do more and more, as we allow ourselves to have more space around us, meaning we don't have to be busy all the time. Summer's here in the northern hemisphere, I can just sit out and watch the birds. I can go on a walk. I can be with people that I love in silence. I don't have to talk. I don't have to listen to other people talk. I don't need music on all the time. I don't need to be consuming information all the time. I can just kind of hang out and be. Our deepest truths are in our beingness. Okay, so truth. This is the first thing. Truth, as we've been talking about, we're kept away from truth. Our truth, of our wholeness, of our light, of our amazingness, of the wonder that we are, right? All these things, of our divinity, of our beauty, of our wisdom. And we do that by listening to all the storylines and believing in those. So one of the first things that we can start to do is peel those away and begin to recognize. So when I was first getting sober, I used to have this very, I don't even know where I got it from. I'm sure I got it from someplace, but this habit that it was like a very physical way for me to remind myself that I was in negative self-talk, right? I was saying bad things about myself. I was saying bad things about others. I was like, I was ruminating. And I would just go negative self-talk, right? Like this, like a puppet yapping at me. And what that would do is it would get my attention. and I would be accountable. I would become present with the fact that I'm doing negative self-talk. This isn't feeling good. And the more that I did that, I could catch myself faster and faster. And then I would be, oh, okay, what is a truth that I can positive self-talk myself, that I can say about myself in a loving way, in a healing way, in a recognition that I might have some defects of character, right? But ultimately, I'm the big truth. I'm not any of the small truths. So the invitation is, how can you set up a way to really let yourself know this is what you're doing? And I would do it in public. I would do it when I'd be talking with my friends, and it kind of was a joke after a while. But that's what helped me. So find what's going to help you to really go, oh, there it is. Okay. I'm chattering wasteful stuff in my brain. What can I start to do that retrains my thought pattern into feeling and thinking and seeing things in a more expanded eagle view way? And it can be very simple things to start that are self-loving. If I'm talking bad to myself, I can say, no, that's not true. I'm actually a really loving and kind person. And I may not always act like it or remember it because I'm hurt. Underneath that, my anger and my rage is hurt. It's my vulnerability. It's my fear. Okay? So we get to retrain ourselves and really get clear what's going on between our ears, because it's not just between our ears. It's in our whole body and in our whole energy field, which creates incoherence, which creates static and noise in us and around us. So that's the first thing. Okay? The second thing is learning to practice non-attachment. Non-attachment is not detachment. Okay? Non-attachment allows us to know I might have a preference about something. I might have a strong belief about something. And yet I'm not going to attach all of my energy to that. So one way that you can practice this is when you notice that you're in a tizzy about something. All right, your panties are in a bunch, so to speak. First, you just feel it. You stop and you recognize, right? Oh, okay, little truth. I'm annoyed. I'm afraid. I'm angry, right? I'm feeling like a victim. I'm fearful. Whatever these things are. And then what am I wanting or not wanting? I am wanting probably I'm wanting for somebody to do something different. Let's just project it out first. I'm wanting them to stop behaving in this way because I think it's wrong, it scares me, I don't believe it, I have all sorts of things about it. And then you let go of not wanting them to do it. You let go. You let them do it. Doesn't mean you agree. Doesn't mean that there might be some action that you can take for you to support you. But the first thing is you've got to get out of the angst. So you're going to I'm going to let go. Okay. So they're behaving in this way, so they're saying these things, so this is happening in our world. I care deeply, and yet I'm going to not be attached because there is nothing that I can do to make it in my control. And it's making me dis-eased, okay? It's creating dis-ease in me. And then when you let go, even if it's for a moment, you're going to feel this emptying out. That's your window. When you let go of the attachment, when you let go of, it should or shouldn't be, right or wrong, good or bad, you come in the middle. You take a breath. And there is that inkling of, it's not probably divine neutrality yet, but that's the window where we're going. It's like, oh, okay. Now I can explore a little bit deeper because I'm relaxed. I'm not reactive now. I'm open. I'm not freaking out. Is there something that I need to do to support myself in this feeling so that I can be clear and grounded, so I can speak, so I can take some action, but not from attachment, not from clinging, not from all of that stuff that goes with it. But instead, we come into that present moment of right here, right now. This is what it is. But we aren't this is what it is by acquiescing. It's an energetic frequency shift that brings you peace, not detached and disconnected from your truth, your small truth of your experience, of your feelings, of your emotions, but you aren't letting those things compel and propel you. You're practicing just opening up and becoming even keel. Let go, let God. And then you start to turn things over. The Serenity Prayer is an amazing prayer for this, and I'll just share it with you. You might know it, but if not, it is God, or whatever you want to say in their universe, right? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So it is no mistake that that is like the core prayer in Alcoholics Anonymous. It can work magic when you really just find those places of letting go and surrendering. So we have truth, big truth, and then you come back to the big truth, right? You have non-attachment. We're going to add 3 here because this is, I don't always emphasize it, but it's important. Developing your relationship with the universe, with God, with the divine. Developing a knowing that you can rest back into an intelligence much higher than any of us walking around on this planet. Much higher intelligence than any of us that think we know everything that's going on. When we can fall and rest into that relationship, truth and unattachment, or stepping into neutrality, is made that much easier. And then we begin to work towards coherence. For those of you that are already accessing more states and spaces of coherence, where you're aware, you've got feelings, you've got emotions, you've got ideas, you've got thought forms, but they aren't landing anymore. They aren't sticking. The next step, if you aren't already here, is recognizing more fully in that spaciousness, wow, I am. I am divine presence. When I'm in that space, I know that I am directly infused with divine frequency of love, that I'm loved. I'm held, I'm supported, I love, I can hold, I can support. And I can divinely align, which means I am no longer operating in my own self-will. And this is a practice too. And my being knows what is right and true. And it will surpass any preferences that I think that I might have. Because the more we divinely align, the more it neutralizes our lower self, meaning our lower chakra, unpurified aspects of the ego construct that still cling on to things. But when we come into divine alignment, we just say, okay, I can tell you want me to go this way. It's not my choice. That would not be my idea, but I get it. I'm seeing a bit of a bigger picture, and I'm going to follow divine will. I'm going to align myself with that, and I'm going to watch my world shift before my eyes as I shift. Because every time we do this, we are alchemizing our density into a more coherent, divinely connected space. And there is unattachment on next levels. This is where the frequencies are taking us. And we are being asked to focus more on our divinity, to be focused more on frequencies and qualities of being that go beyond, go beyond the norm of what humans have been. We're now saying, have higher expectations of ourselves, of who we are, because not because there's anything wrong, but because we have qualities and characteristics that are idyllic, that move us towards perfection. And I don't use that as in, a bypassing or imperfect and perfect. I mean it in a unified expression of our perfection as we evolve. Those are the next octaves that we're going to probably be talking about here soon. But I wanted to share this, and I wanted to give a little bit more, ladder. We're going up the ladder, right? And we're on these rungs. Some of us are on this rung. Some of us are up on these rungs. Some of us are just starting out, on this rung. It's okay. It's all the journey. It's all in perfection. It's already there. We are already there in perfection. Part of our perfection is this process. And everything that we get to see as imperfect, so to speak, is part of our perfection. And we get to alchemize it, align it, so we know more of our light. I'm going to stop here because I'm starting to go into the next layer, and I want to keep this short. So, as we're going through the eclipse portal, right, and as we're coming up on spring equinox, what is today? This week, Thursday. We want to be recognizing that we are getting ready to birth new humans, ourselves as new humans. And our humanity is going to be expanding into this very new place that we'll talk more about. All right? Many blessings, much love. I hope this landed with you. If it did, give a subscribe so that you'll be notified as we move up the ladder, expand, deepen even more. All right.